Hello, welcome to the world of guitar. I'm Bob Miles, I'm your host. The song I just opened with needs no introduction. We've heard it a million times on every radio station. It's entitled My Girl, and it was made popular by the fabulous Temptations, one of the greatest vocal groups. And I'm honored to have Bill Neale today from the Temptations with me. Thank you, Bill.
Oh, it's nice to be here, Bob. Thanks for having me on the show.
You're very welcome. Bill has a vast career. Bill has played with the Temptations. He also toured for a number of years with Denise Williams. He is on a gold record, which we'll hear in the show. He also was in Hollywood for many, many years, was a staff guitarist for the Gong show, and also played on many TV shows which are running in syndication today. I'm sure you've heard Bill's guitar playing many times and just never knew it. So when we come back, we'll talk about Bill's brilliant career and about all the beautiful guitar playing he did that's part of our everyday life. So stay tuned.
Heritage Insurance specializes in insurance for all musical instruments. Private collectors, dealers, recording studios, orchestras all count on Heritage Insurance. At Heritage, you will find knowledgeable, friendly agents who offer you competitive pricing. Heritage Insurance Company has been meeting the needs of business owners and family heads since 1962. So for vintage guitars and collectibles, or homeowners, auto, and business insurance, the only answer is Heritage Insurance. Call 1-800-289-8837 today. Looking for fine custom guitar straps made from the highest quality leather? Then look no further. Double Trouble is the creator of the original, comfortable buffalo leather guitar strap. Double Trouble makes handmade guitar straps from the highest quality leathers, including concho and snakeskin straps in a variety of colors, priced from $35. Write or call for a free brochure. Double Trouble, 609-587-0700.
Visit Cintioli's Richboro Music for all your music needs. Cintioli's offers high quality at low prices and stocks a large selection of new and used instruments and accessories. Trade-ins are welcome. Instruction on most instruments is provided by qualified, talented professionals. And Cintioli's Richboro now has a growing selection of sheet music. Cintioli's Richboro is located at 881 Bustleton Pike, where Bustleton meets 2nd Street Pike.
Cover to Cover is the magazine show that keeps you up to date on the exciting people and places of our area. Join me, host Lee Wolf, and producer Gina Green, as we show you the history of our unique area, special events happening throughout the year, and organizations that are striving to make a change and help others. Go Cover to Cover, Wednesdays at 8:30 p.m., Saturdays at 2:30 p.m., and Sundays at 10:30 a.m., right here on SCT9. Toluca Music Company is not a music superstore, yet carries one of the largest selections of new and used instruments and equipment in the area, including top used brands such as Fender, Gibson, Paul Reed Smith, Marshall, and Peavey. Unlike superstores, customers get undivided personal attention from a music professional when shopping at Toluca's. Why risk a classified ad to sell used gear? Toluca pays top dollar for all pre-owned instruments and equipment. Toluca Music Company, proud of its reputation for restoring vintage guitars and quality repair work. Private music instruction is also available.
welcome back to the world of guitar. I'm here with Bill Neale, and the solo they just heard was from what record, Bill?
That was a song called Sad Eyes, recorded by Robert John back in 1979.
Okay.
I had the opportunity to play on that whole album. It was the first album he had done in quite a few years. He had recorded a version of The Lion Sleeps Tonight. I don't know if you remember that.
Oh, yeah, sure.
So when he recorded the album that had Sad Eyes on it, just like any album you do, you have no idea what song is going to be the first release or the hit, if any hit. I'm very fortunate for Robert John, as well as myself, because I played on the song. The song was a million seller for him.
Okay, that's great. That's great. Yeah. I've heard that solo a million times.
On all the elevators and everywhere.
Right.
Sure,
well, I still hear it today. It's a great song. It's a great song. Deserving of a gold record. Tell me about your career. You started almost not an infant, but not far from being an infant, into going with the Temptations.
Yeah, I started playing at a young age, like most kids, at around age 10. And other than the Beatles and all the English groups that I loved, I had a great love for Motown music. I always listened to the Motown music, from the Supremes to the Temptations to Smokey Robinson. And even when I played in high school with different groups, we always played Motown songs, different than some of the other bands. And the Temptations used to come into our area in the Cherry Hill, Camden, New Jersey area, to a place called the Latin Casino, which many of your viewers may remember. And I always used to go see the Temptations and always tried to work my way backstage to get autographs. And when I was around 16, I got to know some of the people in the Temptations, as well as their musical director and one of the founding members, Paul Williams. And I told him I play guitar, and he said, well, let me hear you play. So one time I went to his hotel, he listened to me play, he liked my playing, and that was the end of that. And when they came back the next year to the same area, I went to the place where they were playing, and I wanted to hear the rehearsal before opening night. And I happened to see the musical director, and he said, you know, would you like to play our show? And I was shocked. I said, I'd love to. And he said, well, go home and get your guitar. And I said, I have it with me. And that's how it all started.
Paul also was their guitarist.
No, that was Cornelius Grant.
Oh,
he was their musical director, guitarist. Paul Williams was actually a member of the Temptations.
Right. Tell me about the evening you had to play at the Latin Casino, and Kenny Burrell sat in with you.
Okay.
Played. That was with the Temptations or Sammy Davis?
That was with Sammy Davis Jr. Okay. What happened after that Temptations engagement that was at the Latin Casino, that I actually got my start professionally, I went back to school. It was the end of the school year. I was just finishing up. And so I'm back in school, and Sammy Davis was coming to the Latin Casino a couple of weeks later. And the same thing, I wanted to go hear his rehearsal. So after school one day, I went over to the Latin Casino where they were rehearsing, and when I walked in, the musical director of the club said, we've been trying to call you. He said, Sammy Davis's guitar player quit, and they need a guitar player. Do you think you can do it? Well, I was scared to death. I said, sure. You know.
And how old were you at the time?
I was just a couple months under 18. I was just about 18 years old. Okay. And I had a chance to go in and do the rehearsal, and the musical director, George Rhodes, liked my playing, and he let me do it. But what I didn't know is they had already hired Kenny Burrell to come in that night. Okay. And so I had a great opportunity opening night with Sammy Davis Jr., having Kenny Burrell alongside of me. Okay. And that was a real honor, and Kenny Burrell gave me his blessing and told the musical director he thought I could do it, and I stayed and did the rest of the engagement, and I also traveled with Sammy Davis for a little while after that.
Okay. While you were speaking, they were running clips, actually, of some of the famous people you've played with and know. Why did you not stay with Sammy Davis and go with the Temptations? What led to that?
It's a good question, and it was a tough decision at the time, but I think a good decision. The Temptations, this was at their I guess, biggest point, if you would, whatever you would say. They were very popular in 1970, that time period. We used to play the Spectrum, all the big places around the country. Sammy Davis also was doing performances, but he was also doing movies and taking a lot of time off in between. So when I was on the road with Sammy Davis, and I knew that he wasn't going to be doing a lot of traveling, at the same time, I got a call when I was in Chicago with Sammy Davis from the Temptations, saying that they wanted me to join them in June, which was great, the end of the school year for me, to be with them for good, permanently. So I thought about it, talked to my parents about it, who were always great supporters, and made the decision to go with the Temptations, and I stayed with them from that point on for the next 5 years.
For the 5 years. And you toured around the entire world, right?
Yes, absolutely. We were everywhere. Tokyo, we went to Tokyo a couple different times. We were in Hong Kong, England, Germany, France, a wide variety of places. I had a great opportunity to see many parts of the world that other people don't have that opportunity to do.
Now, you got to play at the Apollo Theater.
Yes, I did.
That's right, that's right. Yeah. And also the Spectrum, I think.
Yeah, the Apollo was great because if any of your viewers are familiar with the Apollo Theater, it's in in uptown New York City, I guess on 125th Street, and it's one of those places where they do on the weekends 4 and 5 shows a day,
Yeah.
and it would be the Temptations and the Spinners and Wilson Pickett, and we would do a 1 o'clock show, a 4 o'clock show, a 7 o'clock show, and the dressing rooms were like on the 8th floor with no elevators. That it was just really,
Jeez.
we paid our dues, but we had a great time.
You sure did. You got your
Yeah.
exercise in
Yeah.
as well. Yeah.
Yes, and the Spectrum, and obviously places like that, the Forum in Los Angeles, Madison Square Garden, the Copacabana in New York,
gosh.
Greek Theater in Los Angeles, many places.
You were living a real dream.
It absolutely was a dream. It, with no doubt about it, it was a dream come true. I thought so then, and I think so now.
Sure, sure. How did you learn their material? Did you know all that? Or?
I really did. I was very fortunate because I was a great fan of all the Motown acts and the bands that I played with through in high school. The bands we played, the weddings and the school dances, we played a lot of the Motown songs.
Okay.
And because I had a great interest in the Temptations, I listened to all their songs. So when I had the opportunity to play with them that night when I started with them, I knew most of the songs. Yeah. They gave me the music as a reference point for the beginnings and the ends, and maybe some, they did some medleys of songs so they weren't complete versions, and also some Broadway type material. But I knew most of the stuff, so it was real, I won't say it was easy, I was nervous as you can imagine, but other than that, it was easy.
Yeah. Now, you've played with other popular Motown groups, one being Denise Williams. I think we're going to roll into a clip now of you on The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson,
Yes.
Playing with Denise. Tell us about your role with Denise.
Very talented young singer. And Denise has had several hit records. Her current album featuring her hit single from the movie Footloose is called Let's Hear It for the Boy. It'll be out May 21st. Would you welcome Denise Williams? Denise.
That's great. And there you are with red shoes on.
That's me with red shoes, and that's Jeff Baxter from the Doobie Brothers to my left.
And Steely Dan.
Yeah.
Great man. A legend in guitar.
Absolutely.
And what was your role? You were her musical director?
Yeah, I had actually played on a couple of her albums before that. I was working with a producer named Tom Bell, who's very famous, The Sound of Philadelphia, the Stylistics hits, the Spinners hits.
Sure.
And he was producing Denise Williams, so I had an opportunity to play on 2 of her albums, and during that time, she was going to be doing some traveling, and she asked me if I'd like to be part of that band as her musical director, and would I put together a band for her. So I did, and I stayed with Denise about, I want to think it was 1.5 years or 2 years or so, also doing albums in between, because I also co-produced one of her albums with her. Okay. So when The Tonight Show came up, we put the band together for that, and I had a chance to bring together a lot of my friends and people that I admired, and one of those people, as you probably saw on the tape, was Jeff Baxter at the time of the Doobie Brothers, and also played with Steely Dan, a wonderful player, and a lot of other great musicians.
Sure. Let's talk about something go down another avenue. I notice you're playing a Benedetto guitar today, which is quite a difference from you were an endorser of the Kawai, the red guitar, which was on the clip earlier. Tell me a little bit about your relationship with Bob and so forth.
Well, first of all, I had heard about Bob Benedetto through reading magazines and, seeing that he had the book out, How to Build an Archtop Guitar, and I knew he was a fine builder. And we actually lived fairly close to each other at the time that I was reading these things and didn't realize it. And I had an interest in acquiring an Archtop guitar, so I called him up, and he graciously invited me to his home. And this was about early 1995, and I went out to his home and had the opportunity to meet with Bob and his wife, Cindy. And we just hit it off right away. I had a chance to play a couple of his guitars, and it was great. It was just a real nice visit. I also brought a few pictures and showed them a little bit about my career, and we had some nice conversations about that. And that was just a very nice visit. I didn't order a guitar that day. It led to that, though, and Cindy, his wife, if you know Cindy, she's a great marketer. She took an interest in me and my background, and one thing led to another. Bob and Cindy, along with my wife and myself, became great friends, and I also had the opportunity to order a guitar from Bob, and Really, this is probably the finest guitar I've ever had in my life. It's made out of all European cello woods, carved spruce top.
You've had some beautiful guitars.
Yeah.
I read your article in Vintage Guitar Magazine,
Yes.
which is a 2 or 3 page article, and it talks about the guitars you've had. Speaking about Bob Benedetto, I solicited some nice things from some people that know you. As part of the show, I do this. To Bill. Bill is a unique player with a great rock feel. He is the godfather. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm reading the wrong one. Excuse me. To Bill. This is the correct one. Boy, live TV.
Live television.
Bill was a high school kid who knew exactly what he wanted to do, and he did it. His versatility is unsurpassed, and his good nature an enviable attribute as well. An extremely modest master of the guitar, Bob Benedetto.
Oh, isn't that nice?
And I guess you know who the other one's from by now.
I'll tell you.
Bill is a unique player with a great rock feel. He is the godfather of my son and one of my favorite people. I have always followed Bill's career ever since the days at Henry's Club. We always kept in touch and would buy each other the same identical gifts without knowing. And he told me, he elaborated on that, but that's by Rudy Tricoli.
Oh, Rudy, one of the greats, one of the great guitar players around.
Yeah,
He's one of the best.
Very highly of you. We're going to go to a commercial, and when we come back, we're going to pick up with your career with the Gong Show. And also, I want you to play me snippets of some of the Temptations and so forth. So do me a favor, play a couple of the very popular songs you played with the Temptations.
Well, obviously, you did a fine job with My Girl, where there was a lot of guitar intros in there, but Just My Imagination. They all started with guitar intros. If you remember, I'm Losing You, the Temptations did it, Rod Stewart. Other ones start with a bass intro, kind of bass guitar. Papa Was a Rolling Stone. You know, and on and on and on.
Yeah.
All those songs started with guitar intros, and I think that's what it was easy for the year. So back in the AM radio days, when people would hear a guitar intro like My Girl, you know, or Smokey Robinson like Tracks of My Tears. They knew what they were going to hear, and they kept, and that's what made those songs. I think it gave them a great opportunity to become hit records.
Yeah. It became actually, really, I'm not overestimating this, part of the society. It really did, just like the Beatles.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It was a great time. By the way, those notes were wonderful. I was very touched.
You're welcome. We'll be back in a minute, and we'll pick up with your career in Hollywood.
Great.
You knew there'd come a day when we would have to say goodbye.
Heritage Insurance specializes in insurance for all musical instruments. Private collectors, dealers, recording studios, orchestras all count on Heritage Insurance. At Heritage, you will find knowledgeable, friendly agents who offer you competitive pricing. Heritage Insurance Company has been meeting the needs of business owners and family heads since 1962. So for vintage guitars and collectibles, or homeowners, auto, and business insurance, the only answer is Heritage Insurance. Call 1-800-289-8837 today. Looking for fine custom guitar straps made from the highest quality leather? Then look no further. Double Trouble is the creator of the original, comfortable buffalo leather guitar strap. Double Trouble makes handmade guitar straps from the highest quality leathers, including concho and snakeskin straps in a variety of colors, priced from $35. Write or call for a free brochure. Double Trouble, 609-587-0700.
Visit Cintioli's Richboro Music for all your music needs. Cintioli's offers high quality at low prices and stocks a large selection of new and used instruments and accessories. Trade-ins are welcome. Instruction on most instruments is provided by qualified, talented professionals. And Cintioli's Richboro now has a growing selection of sheet music. Cintioli's Richboro is located at 881 Bustleton Pike, where Bustleton meets 2nd Street Pike.
Cover to Cover is the magazine show that keeps you up to date on the exciting people and places of our area. Join me, host Lee Wolf, and producer Gina Green, as we show you the history of our unique area, special events happening throughout the year, and organizations that are striving to make a change and help others. Go Cover to Cover, Wednesdays at 8:30 p.m., Saturdays at 2:30 p.m., and Sundays at 10:30 a.m., right here on SCT9. Toluca Music Company is not a music superstore, yet carries one of the largest selections of new and used instruments and equipment in the area, including top used brands such as Fender, Gibson, Paul Reed Smith, Marshall, and Peavey. Unlike superstores, customers get undivided personal attention from a music professional when shopping at Toluca's. Why risk a classified ad to sell used gear? Toluca pays top dollar for all pre-owned instruments and equipment. Toluca Music Company, proud of its reputation for restoring vintage guitars and quality repair work. Private music instruction is also available.
Hello, welcome back to the world of guitar. I'm with Bill Neale. We're laughing so much here in the set. We're having so much fun. Bill, one thing I'm very curious about is the studio work you did, the
Yes.
TV shows, and some of the great people you sat alongside of Larry Carlton, Lee
Yes.
Rittenhauer, Tommy Tedesco. Tell me about a typical day in Hollywood with yourself.
Well, a typical day, there was no typical day, as you can imagine, in the music business. But in terms of living in California, doing studio work, I had an opportunity to do a lot of TV and film work, records too, but interestingly enough, in California, I probably did more film and television than I did records. And I did shows. I was the guitar player on Remington Steele, if you ever remember watching Remington. I was the guitarist on that show. I did many episodes of Fantasy Island, Dallas, a lot of the comedies, Rhoda, Back to Dramas, Kojak, shows like that. And they would usually be 8 o'clock in the morning calls. You would get a call a few days before, and they would be 8 o'clock in the morning calls or 9 o'clock. And there were some wonderful players there. You mentioned some of the names, Larry Carlton, Tim May, the late, great Tommy Tedesco, who was one of the best in the business, one of the nicest guys you'd ever want to meet, and very, very helpful to young upcoming musicians like myself at the time. But those sessions, they were preset. I mean, the composer for that particular show would know exactly what they wanted. The music would be set in front of you, and we would have 4 or 5 or 6 different guitars that would needed to be used for the show, whether we had an acoustic, a classical, a couple different electrics. We all had at the time, now they have the rack effects boards, but at the time we had pedal boards with all different types of effects. And really we would just read the music and do what the composer wanted, and sometimes have the opportunity to add our own creativity. But it was a lot of hard work, but enjoyable.
Yeah, speaking about your own creativity, we got together a week or so ago,
Yes.
and I was flabbergasted by your playing and your creativity.
Well, thank you.
Were you ever frustrated at all doing so much TV work and not being as creative as you might want to have been?
I guess I could have been, and maybe I was later on through the years when I kind of winded down that part of my life. But one of the things we haven't spoken about that kind of helped with that creativity, I got into record production. Mm-hmm. And along with a great songwriter, Linda Creed, who wrote the lyrics on many of the great records, the Stylistics records, Whitney Houston, The Greatest Love of All. Mm-hmm. And we had the opportunity to co-produce Teddy Pendergrass, Johnny Gill, who became part of the group New Edition. I also had the opportunity, as I mentioned earlier, to co-produce an album on Denise Williams, and we worked on that album together. So that was really exciting, because when you produce an album, you're doing everything from sorting out what songs are going to be used for the album, whether the artist writes them or whether you get them from different writers or you write them yourself, to hiring the right musicians, writing the string charts if you're going to use strings, hiring the right studio. So that was really exciting too. And so I think the combination of actually playing in the studios, playing the guitar in television and film, also had the chance to do a lot of commercials as well, and getting into record production, that was very exciting and very creative.
That's pretty amazing that a guitar player can go off into those avenues. You're almost like a Renaissance man in many ways. Tell me about the Gong Show.
The Gong Show. Well, the Gong Show was I would say, a very important part of my life, because Chuck Barris was a great guy. The show started back in 1976, I think, and during that time, the bass player on the show, who was a dear friend of mine, I just don't have an opportunity to see him that often, Ray Neapolitan, he was the bassist on the show. he had mentioned me to Chuck Barris and to the musical director Milton DeLugg. And as a result of that, I got the opportunity to do one of the shows. There was another guitar player prior to me for a short amount of time, but he had gone on to do other things. So I got the opportunity to do the Gong show, and I started doing a couple shows a week. We used to do those shows on the weekends. What a lot of people may not know that watch a show like the Gong show, and I know it's on syndication now in many markets, it's a 5-day-a-week show, Monday through Friday, but we would do every other weekend, we would do 5 shows on a Saturday and 5 shows on a Sunday. So we would start the rehearsals with these acts, and you know what some of these acts were like? Some were very good, too, by the way.
Sure.
We would start rehearsals at 9 o'clock in the morning, finish up the rehearsals at 4 o'clock, take a quick dinner break, and then do the shows from 5 to whenever we got done. But it was a crazy time, and Chuck was also a guitar player, and we had a lot of fun and on the show, and Chuck gave us different opportunities to do different things. And I used to have this crazy voice that I used to use, and I won't do it for you now. You're going to hear it in tape, I think.
Okay.
But he gave me an opportunity to do this little voiceover, and I think maybe let the film speak for itself.
Okay, we'll roll into that.
Okay.
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, we have on our show a great guitar player, and he's also kind of a fantastic singer. We love to have him on the show. We have all this talent right in our own backyard on the old Gong show. So here, doing a little Gong show number is our guitar player. Here comes Simplemente Billy. Do you think really that the other guys in the band may be jealous that you have a starring spot here on the show? Hey, wait, hey, here comes some now. Here comes Joe, our trombone player, and Mark, our drummer. Hey, do you guys feel any kind of jealousy about him?
I don't like it.
We'll be right. Hey, hit me out, Bill. We'll be right.
Boy, does that bring back memories. Oh, my gosh.
You had to have fun, you know, we had a good time.
Sure. Bill, thanks. You've been a great guest.
Oh,
we could go on to do volumes of shows on this alone. Why don't you play us out to the credits, please?
Okay, sure. A little pretty thing that I composed after listening to the Charlie Hayden, Pat Metheny album called Beyond the Missouri Sky.
Okay.
If you want to learn to play the guitar, consider the Guitar Academy in Warrington. The Guitar Academy offers instruction for any level, from beginner to advanced. Owner and operator Bob Miles specializes in jazz, contemporary, rock and pop, and even classical repertoire. You'll find instruction at the Guitar Academy to be relaxing, warm, and professional. And the Guitar Academy is also a booking agency of bands and performers for your special occasion. The Guitar Academy is located at 1334 Easton Road, just south of Bristol, across from Stutz Candies. For all the latest in the world of jazz guitar, read Just Jazz Guitar magazine. For more information or to subscribe, call 404-250-9298 or send $36 check or money order to the address on your screen.